Welcome, guys, to Freedom Through Fitness. I'm Dr. Nathan Thompson with Exemplify Health Center and CrossFit Exemplify. And today we're going to be going over some really cool things in regards to fitness and how fitness can help you achieve freedom in so many different areas of your life. Freedom from stress, freedom through poor mindset, freedom through poor sleep, freedom through a lack of mobility, freedom through so many different things that I see so many people suffer from because they don't incorporate fitness into their everyday life. So listen, here's what we're going to accomplish today. Number one, I'm going to show you what fitness is, what fitness isn't, and what fitness should accomplish for you. Number two, I'm going to show you the best type of fitness. Number three, I'm going to go over with you why some of you actually should not be pursuing fitness as your number one goal quite yet, and why if you do, why it can lead to an early grave. Number four, I'm going to go over post-workout nutrition to help you maximize fat burning and muscle building. And I'm also going to go over with you a workout that only requires 4 minutes of exercise per day. Now listen, I want to make sure that you listen to the whole entire webinar, because as we go through it, I'm going to be giving you some free gifts and also some free offers for you. So make sure that you are watching this all the way to the end. So today is all about action. Listen, I've never seen a life change just by consuming information, but I have seen lives change when they take that information and they take massive action. So I'm going to be challenging you today to go outside your comfort zone and start to take immediate action today. Now, this webinar is actually from my upcoming book called Transformation 28 Days to Achieving Your Best Health Ever. And look for this coming out in October 2018. So some of these things and ideas that I'm going to be talking about in regards to fitness, I'll cover in a lot more detail in the book Transformation 28, coming out October of 2018. So stay tuned for an announcement when we are releasing the official book. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I want you guys to look at this picture and see if the flaw in this picture is pretty apparent to you. A lot of times people see it right away, but if you didn't catch it, you're going to notice that these two people right here are actually taking the escalators to go to 24-hour fitness to most likely ride the Stairmaster for 60 minutes. Isn't it amazing how we try to do as little as possible in our everyday life, and then we go to the gym to do things that we are actually avoiding in our everyday life? So it would make more sense, rather than working out, to actually take the stairs in your everyday life. But a lot of times we sit, and whether it's TV or whether it's job, or we sit all day, and that actually makes us go to the gym to do the things that we're avoiding all day. So, hey, listen, why should you listen to me? Well, number one, I'm a chiropractor and I specialize in spinal correction. So I'm one of the few people who actually understand how the body is designed to properly move. Number two, I've actually achieved one of the highest degrees of certification in the most popular functional fitness movement called CrossFit. Number three, even more important, I actually practice what I preach for the past 8 years. And number four, the reason why you should listen to me is because I have seen, as a doctor, as a physician, what inactivity can do, not only to the people that are close to me, but also to my patients. And so I see the toll of a lack of fitness and a lack of movement and what it takes on people as they go into their 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. Now, probably the biggest reason how I got into fitness was growing up, I was that kid. So I was a kid that exercised, and I was a kid who worked out because I had a goal in mind. And that goal in mind was actually to become a college athlete. So I was a kid that would do 1,500 jump ropes a night. I was a kid that would be doing pull-ups in sub-zero weather. I was the kid who had the Sears and Roebuck weightlifting set that was made of concrete and plastic, and I would be lifting weights at 12 or 13 years of age. And I did all of that because my goal was to be able to perform better. And it did. I became a college athlete. And after I got out of college and after I got out of graduate school, I really never had any kind of reason to work out. So I didn't have any goals. I definitely, the idea of pursuing fitness as far as making me healthier didn't really excite me all that much. And so I found myself putting on 40 pounds, losing my energy, not sleeping well, becoming stressed all the time. And, I always thought that I needed to work out just for health, but I never did it. I always thought I'm too busy and that I'll actually do it one day. And one of the things that got me from saying one day to 2 day was actually watching my dad diagnosed with cancer. And I know if you've ever gotten that call from, parents or from a loved one about, being diagnosed with cancer, if you've ever gone through that moment of devastation is just one of the most painful things that you can actually go through. And so watching my dad suffer through that, I made an immediate decision that I was going to change my life. I was going to change my health. And one of the things that I was going to do was become recommitted again to fitness, not for necessarily pursuing some kind of athletic goal, but to pursue fitness to reach my potential, to reach my health potential, and to make sure I was as healthy as possible for as long as possible for the people that I loved in my life. And so this is me with 2 out of my 3 kids, my 2 sons, Talon and Jacoby. And this is me not long ago with my dad, who, thank God, has recovered and has actually now made fitness a huge part of his life as well. But listen, fitness is actually something that is a part of our family. So my son, for example, and my kids, they actually asked to work out. They actually asked to work out with me as a way of actually spending time together. And I don't force them to do it. I don't actually ask them to do it. They're kids who want to do it because they see me as the example. So this is actually my son a year ago finishing his very first 5K. And I love this picture so much because it actually captures the essence of what fitness should do. Fitness should make you feel great. Fitness should make you feel proud. And you can see me in the background as a proud dad. And even more importantly, you can see my son absolutely beaming because he's doing something that was hard and something that he didn't think was actually possible. And so this is my family today. We make fitness a staple in our life. And listen, having 3 kids, having a wellness office, having owning and operating 2 gyms, writing a book. Listen, I am busier than ever before, but one of the things we always make sure in our family is that fitness is a priority, and that it's nothing that we put on the back burner. And I want to encourage you to start making fitness your priority in your life. So here is a brand new breakthrough treatment that has just been discovered. What if I told you that you could take a pill and this pill would automatically do all of these different things? That this pill would lower your blood pressure, that this pill would lower your cholesterol, improve your triglycerides, that this pill would help you to lose weight, help you to overcome type 2 diabetes, help you to overcome osteoporosis and strengthen your bones, how to improve low energy to give you abundant energy, how to fix poor sleep, how to fix poor mood and depression, and help you to overcome chronic pain. Now, if I could bottle this into a supplement, would you take it? And most people would say, absolutely, I would. And here's what it is. This is actually called exercise. But here's the thing. If I could get all of these benefits in a supplement, I still would never take it. And here's why. So after doing this, fitness as a lifestyle, I realized that one of the greatest adaptations of fitness and of exercise is the one that happens between the ears. And I found that as I started to incorporate fitness into my everyday life, that every day I would be working out, I noticed something that happened, and it was actually I became so much more mentally stronger, more mentally resilient. I knew that if I could tackle a tough workout in the morning, and one that scared me, one that challenged me, I know that if I did that in the morning, then I could take on any single challenge that came my way every single day. And I know that by doing this, this has helped me so much, especially seeing my dad suffer with cancer. And so I want to ask you a question. You have your own story just like I did. There's something in your life that, you have that story where it could have changed you in that moment like it changed me. But my question is why haven't you acted in a way right now, right yet, in a way that's going to change your future? So, listen, we all know there's a ton of physical benefits to exercise, just like I talked about in the previous slide. We all know that exercise makes you look better. We all know that it helps improve your blood work. It helps improve so many different things. But not a lot of people actually know that exercise makes you smarter. Now, they did a study about 9 years ago, and they looked at 1.2 million men, and they found that the men that were in the best cardiovascular condition actually scored the highest on IQ tests. So not only is there a physical benefit to exercise, but there's actually a strong benefit with brain function, with smarts, with intellect that's accomplished through exercise. Now, the other one too is that not only is exercise great for the body, but it's also great for the brain, but it's also great for mood. It's great for your mind. This is another study that comes from the Journal of American Medical Association Psychiatry. This was actually just done just a couple of months ago, and it was actually in relation to exercise and mood and depression. Now, they actually found that resistance exercise training significantly reduced depressive symptoms among adults, regardless of their health status, regardless of their total prescribed volume of resistance exercise training, or significant improvements in strength. So what this actually means is that just the physical act of weight training can help significantly reduce depressive symptoms. So it didn't matter how far gone you were. It didn't matter how much you were actually doing any kind of resistance exercise training, or it actually didn't even matter if you became stronger from it. But they actually found that just by the act of doing it helped to significantly improve depressive type symptoms. Now here's the other thing, because a lot of times everyone talks about working out just to get skinny, or working out just to lose weight, or working out to quote unquote earn their binge eating. You have no idea how many times people would go to the gym to work out just so that they could go have an ice cream cone or a sundae or go eat fast food afterwards. But listen, skinny doesn't necessarily equate to being healthy. And in fact, if your goal is just to be skinny, I want you to think of people who actually die skinny. And those are people who actually die from cancer. Cancer people die skinny. So you see where I'm going with this. So we shouldn't incorporate fitness just to get skinnier. Fitness is actually more important than being skinny. And the reason why is because in the Journal of American Medical Association 11 years ago, when they actually looked at fitness, they found that fitness was a significant mortality predictor in older adults independent of body fat. So what they meant was that how fit you were was more important than what your body fat percentage was. Now, I'm going to go over with you the number one predictor of mortality, the number one predictor of early death in just a second. But fitness was also a big predictor of mortality, more than actually body fat composition. And this actually comes from this study. So here's what they found. They looked at the relative death risk in fit and unfit men, and what they found was that men who had a body fat percentage of under 17%, this is what the relative death risk was. So these are also people, you can see that their death risk in 17 to 25% was actually the lowest. So the lowest death risks were actually found in men who had a body fat percentage of 17 to 25%. And then you can see over 25%, you can see what their relative death risk was. You can actually see that if you are unfit, that this is actually at 17 to 25% actually had the lowest death risk. But now when they looked at people who are actually fit, who actually had the same percentage of body fat, they found almost a twofold decrease in your relative death risk. So what this is actually saying is that being fit is actually more important than being at a low percentage body weight. And in fact, the sweet spot, what they found was to be fit and yet to have a body fat percentage of 17 to 25% while still being fit. So fitness is much more important than actually fatness or how much body fat you're actually carrying. Now here's the number one predictor of early death, and it's actually posture. You know, most people think their number one predictor of early death is their genes, but this right here is the number one predictor of early death, and it's how you look, it's your posture. And so this actually came from the Journal of American Geriatric Society, and this was way back about 14 years ago, and they actually looked at mortality risk, and they looked at people who were in a nursing home. And what they did to actually measure what was known as hyperkyphotic posture. Now we also call that the granny posture, we call it the nursing home posture, but basically this hyperkyphotic posture is when you have a rounded upper back and the head juts forward in front of the body. Now normally these bones in the neck should actually stack perfectly over the pelvis. And so if this middle part of the back rounds too much and the head begins jutting forward in the body, when they found that in the study that the more that their head went forward, they had 144% increased risk of mortality. And this actually was more than your nutrition, your genetics, was actually how your posture looked. And the reason why is because the spine is what is housing the central nerve system. And that central nerve system is what is controlling all body functions inside of your body, including the immune system and including your hormone system and including your body's ability to be able to recover and repair. So here's actually what they found when someone has a rounded upper back and also known as a hyperkyphotic posture or forward head posture or that granny posture. They actually found that when this is happening, this forward head posture resulted in a loss of 30% of your vital lung capacity. This was actually your ability to take in oxygen, which is a critical nutrient for life. They also found that when this happened, they had a loss in mobility of the spine, which means that they can no longer move or exercise on their own. It is also extremely prevalent in headaches and disc herniations. But what's also interesting is when that head moves in front of the body in that granny posture, it decreases your pain threshold. So what that means is that the more forward the head is moving, the less you're actually being able to deal with pain. So things that normally wouldn't cause pain actually cause increase in pain or decrease in pain threshold. But little things are actually creating more and more pain. And not only that, it just makes you look extremely old, because who wants to look like an old grandma or an old grandpa anyway? I don't know about you, but I want to look young for as long as possible. So I know that we talk about fitness, and fitness is important for mobility. Fitness is important for longevity. Fitness is more important than what your body fat is. But the problem is we have to be able to define what fitness actually is. So what is fitness? What is fitness? And how do you define it? You know, if I went to Target and I stood outside Target or Walmart or any grocery store for that matter, and I asked 100 people what fitness is, you probably would get 100 different answers. But fitness is actually definable. And in fact, up to about 15 years ago, there wasn't a real definable, definition of fitness. But about 15 years ago, CrossFit actually came onto the scene, this fitness movement, and came up with one of the best definitions of fitness. And this was what their definition was, that I feel actually captures the essence of what fitness should provide for you. And so they came up with this definition, and it was called work capacity across broad time and movement domains. So the thing with this definition is that it's your ability to perform work. And what work it is if you look at this in like a definition in physics, work is your ability to move a load a certain distance over a certain period of time. So let's say you move a wheelbarrow, for example, and that wheelbarrow has 50 pounds in it, and you're able to pick up that wheelbarrow and you move it 10 feet. And so you move it 10 feet divided by in 2 seconds. So now you can actually come up with this working definition of how much work you're actually performing. So you want to be able to perform as much amount of work, and you want to be able to perform this across different time domains. So your ability to perform work over maybe 2 minutes, your ability to sustain the work over maybe 30 minutes, or your ability to perform this work over 2 hours. And so now when you start looking into, okay, so now we're able to perform this work in X amount of time, but it's not just moving a wheelbarrow, and it's not just maybe running, or maybe it's not just doing a Stairmaster. It might be actually doing all these different types of movement patterns. So now it might incorporate running. Now it might incorporate lifting weights. Now it may incorporate gymnastics, things like pull-ups and push-ups. It might incorporate rowing. It might incorporate biking. It might incorporate doing jump ropes or double unders or something like that. And so you want to be able to accomplish all of these different movements and be able to perform this work in the shortest amount of time. When you combine that, you actually have what's known as well-rounded fitness. So let me give you a scenario. So if you would ask someone, if you took a power lifter or someone who can deadlift 700 pounds or bench press 400 pounds or maybe back squat 500 pounds, and then you compared them to a marathon runner, and you ask the question, who is more fit? And most people actually would say, well, it's probably the marathon runner because they're able to run more. Because a lot of people associate fitness with the ability to run. So let's say we lined up these two people, and the fitness test that we were going to give them was running a 5K. Well, of course, a marathon runner is going to win this. And yet the problem is he may be more fit just with that one scenario. Now, let me give you another scenario. If we were to take these same two people and we're going to have them perform 30 clean and jerks, which is an Olympic lift, and have them perform 30 of them at 135 pounds, who's going to be more fit? Well, obviously it's going to be the power lifter. And I would actually imagine the marathon runner wouldn't even be able to lift it once. So really, fitness is dependent on what you're measuring, right? So we think running is the only test of fitness, but these are just one element of fitness. So it's our ability to do work capacity across broad time and movement domains. So these are some of the different elements of fitness. So your ability to perform all of these different movements. So this would be just one element of fitness. This would be cardio. So this would be maybe your ability to run a mile or ability to run a 5K. Fitness should also be able to give you stamina. So this would be also like running a 5K or being able to lift an object over your head 100 times. That would be a definition or an example of stamina. Fitness should also give you strength, like your ability to be able to pick something off the ground, known as a deadlift, or press something over your head, or being able to squat a weight on your back. This would be an example of strength. Fitness should also give you flexibility. So you'll notice a lot of people who think that fitness is all about running. If you actually ask them to be able to squat or to be able to squat with a bar holding it over their head, that they won't be able to do that. Fitness should also be able to give you flexibility. Or another example of flexibility would be the ability to do a burpee. So fitness should also give you power. So your ability to do Olympic movements, for example, like a clean and jerk or a snatch. Fitness should also give you speed, like your ability to perform a 100-meter sprint. Fitness should also give you coordination. For example, your ability to be able to jump rope or maybe do double unders, one jump and two passes of the rope underneath you. Your ability to be able to do muscle ups, for example, on the rings. This would be an example of coordination. Fitness should give you agility, so your ability to be able to change directions very, very quickly. Agility would also be, like an example of this would be a burpee. Fitness should give you better balance. For example, something that requires an extreme amount of balance would be walking on your hands. Fitness should also give you accuracy. This would be, for example, like a wall ball or doing a front squat and throwing a medicine ball up to a target and hit that target every single time. So you can see that fitness is way more than just about cardio. So fitness is really about combining all of these elements and combining all of them together to make you great at every single one of you. So the goal of fitness should not be necessarily to win that 5K or to win that workout with a 30 clean and jerks, but to perform well enough in all of them so that if we would combine all of these different fitness events together, then you would actually win. You would be the winner of it, even if you didn't come in first in any of them. So when you actually call all of this well-rounded fitness, we actually call this in fitness, we call it CrossFit. The ability to do all of these different fitness domains pretty well, but not becoming a specialist. So what is the best way to achieve fitness? Is it running only? Is it doing the elliptical? Is it planning on working out but actually never working out? Well, achieving all these elements of fitness, we first got to figure out what you want by achieving fitness. So this is what exercise should give you. It should give you better hormone function. It should give you stronger muscles. It should give you less fat and more muscle mass. It should improve your sleep and energy. It should give you more flexibility and better mobility. Things that I don't see when people are only doing one modality, such as running. And fitness should also give you a stronger mental framework. It should give you confidence. And this is one of the things that I have noticed the most through achieving a higher level of fitness. And Greg Glassman, who is actually the founder of CrossFit, said the greatest adaptation of fitness is the one that is occurring between your ears. So a huge component of fitness is a stronger mental framework and confidence. And so fitness and exercise should be able to afford you all of these things all at once. Better hormone function, stronger muscles, less fat, more muscle mass, improved sleep and energy, better mobility, and obviously having way more confidence. So what is the best way to then achieve this fitness? And the best way to achieve this is called high intensity functional training. So also known as HIIT exercise, it's way more than just high intensity training. It's high intensity and functional training. So what does it mean by functional training? Functional training is actually incorporating movements that you need in your everyday life. I want you to think about it. How many times in your everyday life do you need to pick something up off the ground? How many times do you need to squat, get off the toilet, get out of a couch, be able to bend down and pick something up, reach overhead and actually put something away, or pick up your kids, or be able to play different types of sports? So when you're incorporating functional training into your fitness, it's now making you better at everyday life. So for example, so what would this look like? Well, an example would be running. So I'm not 100% against running. I just realized it shouldn't be the only domain that you're actually using. So an example of running would be how to increase cardiovascular endurance, how to increase stamina, sprinting, for example, how to increase speed, doing back squats with a barbell. This would be increasing your strength. This would be increasing your flexibility. There's so many people, when they start off a fitness routine, they've lost the ability to be able to squat. Being able to do Olympic lifts, like, for example, the snatch, or also the clean and jerk. This improves power. This improves flexibility. Your ability to be able to pick something off the floor, known as a deadlift. This improves your power. How about this? Using dumbbells. This is called a dumbbell overhead squat. This improves your power. This improves your flexibility. This one right here, this is known as jumping rope or the double under. This improves your agility. This also improves your coordination. This improves a box jump, improves your agility or your ability to be able to change directions quickly. Also improves your balance. And this one right here, walking on your hands, this improves all of them. Now, I understand that not a lot of people are going to get to this point, but it should be our goal. Our goal of fitness should be constant and never-ending improvement. And if we're always working towards getting better, this is what makes fitness fun. This is what makes fitness enjoyable. And this is actually what makes me want to go to the gym every single day and really try to figure out how can I get better at all of these different fitness domains. So really true fitness should make you better at everything. But the question is why don't we exercise? You know, a lot of times the people tell themselves, they convince themselves of all these different lies. And really, I think it's just, we call it rational lies. And what a rational lie is that it's a rationalization that we tell ourselves that in its essence is a lie that makes us feel good about the fact of why we're miserable. And so many times I have people that say, hey, Dr. Thompson, I can't exercise because I have arthritis or I am too old. Now listen, the truth with exercise is that exercise should actually reduce pain and it should actually reduce arthritis. Now listen, let me give you a perfect example. You know, a lot of times people say my knees are stiff, my shoulders are stiff, and it hurts because they're so stiff, so I'm just not going to do it anymore. But this is the problem with that way of thinking. Let's say you take a 12-year-old and they fall off a swing and they break their arm. You take them to the orthopedic, they take an x-ray, they find out that the arm is broken. So the first thing that they're going to do is they're going to set the bone and they're going to cast it for 6 to 8 weeks. So for 6 to 8 weeks, there's going to be absolutely no movement in that joint. So after 8 weeks, the fracture's healed. They take the cast off of the bone and off of the joint. And if you think about it, what is it going to feel like in a 12-year-old? It doesn't matter how old they are. If they haven't moved it for 8 weeks, that joint is going to feel stiff, it's going to be painful, and it's going to be really weak. If you think about it, that's what doctors diagnose people with arthritis as. So if you're 50 years old and you have a knee that is stiff, painful, and weak, they say, hey, you have arthritis, you want to avoid any kind of movement with it, and here, take all these anti-inflammatories that most likely are doubling or tripling your risk of heart attack and stroke, destroying your liver, destroying your kidneys, and doing nothing to make you better. So if you have to think about it, if that 12-year-old took that cast off and had a stiff, painful, and weak joint, what they're going to do is the doctor's going to recommend to start exercising it and start to move it. And that's what we need to do when we have arthritis or if we have weak, stiff, and painful joints, is we actually need to start moving it. So if you're doing the right type of exercise, it's going to help reduce pain and it's going to help to actually reduce arthritis. Now, just as a full disclosure, listen, some people though, they're going to need to get into shape just to begin the journey of getting into shape. And what I mean by that is that, you know, some people, we wouldn't start them off with doing full depth squats, or we wouldn't start them off with doing Olympic lifting. We would start them off with doing some very basic movements just to get the flexibility, the range of motion, and the strength back to start adding additional movement. But listen, let me tell you, you're never ever too old to exercise. I can promise you that. This study actually came about 15, 16 years ago, and it came from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And they studied 10 people 90 plus years of age in a nursing home. They put them through an 8-week high-intensity resistance training program. So what they found just after 8 weeks is that those 10 people experienced an average gain in strength of 174%. Their thigh muscles increased in size by 9% just in 8 weeks, and their walking speed increased by 48%. Now remember, these were people 90 years of age. Yet I have people all the time that tell me because they're 40 or they're 50, 60 years of age, that they're too old to exercise. Listen, you are never ever too old. You just have to be willing to start where you're at. And here's the second one. Second lie, or the rational lie that we tell ourselves, is we say, I don't have time. Listen, not having time, let me tell you, is not a statement of fact. It's actually a statement of your values. So once I made a health and fitness, once I made that a real high priority on my value list, I was easily able to find the time. And when it wasn't a value of mine, it was really hard to find the time. But here's another thing. Getting into shape should only take minutes and not hours every single day. So most of us, when we decide, hey, I'm going to make fitness a priority, we think that it's hours and hours on the treadmill, it's hours and hours of lifting weights. And in reality, when it comes to my fitness program, for example, most of my workouts that I'm actually doing, conditioning type workouts, are going to take only 5 to 20 minutes every single day. And I may add in 15 to 20 minutes of specific strength training or weightlifting. Things like shoulder to overhead or deadlifting or front squats, back squats, or some kind of Olympic lifting or doing some kind of gymnastics work. But I'll never spend more than an hour every single day working on my fitness. And in fact, the actual conditioning only takes a few minutes every single day. This is what's really cool, because you don't need a lot of exercise in order to make huge improvements with your health. This actually just came out last month, and what they found was that in this study, they actually took people who had what is known as insulin resistance. Okay, so insulin resistance, you can also classify this as pre-diabetes. I talk about this in my book, Transformation 28. But insulin resistance, which they're actually saying now about a third of people in the United States are considered pre-diabetic or insulin resistance. And so they took this group of people and they had them do 6 weeks of CrossFit. And they had them only do 3 days per week. Now, each workout that they did consisted of 8 to 20 minutes of exercise. So 3 days a week, 8 to 20 minutes of exercise. And what they found was after 6 weeks, that doing CrossFit significantly reduced their fat mass, blood pressure, their blood triglycerides, and their cholesterol, and significantly improved their blood sugar. So if you look at spending just 1 hour of total class time 3 times a week for 6 weeks, it came out to just 360 minutes. That's it. 360 minutes over 6 weeks in order to have all of these improvements. And listen, taking a medication instead will not help you. It's improving some of these different metrics and these health measurements, but the problem is that it's not extending your life because it's not getting to the cause. Now, it took 360 minutes in order to get these amazing results. I want you to know something. The average person spends over 3 hours per day on TV and leisure. So I want you to know that you do in fact have the time, because the average person, when you look at it, they have over 7,000 minutes every single week. So I know for a fact that you can achieve in just minutes every single day significant improvements in your health. So what fits your busy schedule best? Exercising for 12 minutes a day or being dead for 24 hours a day? Now here's the last one that we have been lying to ourselves, more rationalized, is that people always tell me is that it's too expensive. So working out is too expensive. Now listen, the other truth is you will always spend your money where you also place your values. The reason why, though, I know that expensive isn't actually the reason why, is because And so many people, I've actually given them workouts that they can do at home. And I've given this to hundreds and hundreds of people who say that they can't afford a gym membership. And even though I gave them free workouts to do at home, when I followed up with them, they still didn't work out. Now, the reality is this, is that sometimes maybe it might be that you can't afford a gym membership. And the greatness is that you can still get into shape by spending $0 at a gym. And the reason why I think that a gym membership, like a CrossFit gym membership, is so important and why I invested in that for years, because it forced me to become accountable. It forced me into a routine. And essentially when I was investing in a gym membership, I was actually taking the first step to committing. And I found that when I was actually committing to something financially, it helped me to actually follow through. However, you actually can work out at home for free. But just to kind of prove this, I wanted to actually show you a video just to see, kind of prove this point or prove this illustration. So what I want you to do is I want you to count how many times the green ball that you see right here is passed. So the point of that video is actually to show you that, hey, listen, if you are always focused on, I don't have time or I don't have the resources to be able to achieve fitness, you're always going to be looking at all of the things that are holding you back and not looking for opportunities. So if you were just focused on that green ball, you might have never actually seen the fact that I offered you in that video a free book. So if you actually missed that opportunity, here's what I want to give you for watching this. So I have available for you a free T28 workout book. This is actually one of the books that we give to the people who participate in our T28 challenge at our gyms. All you need to do is you need to text the word T28 workouts to the number 44222. So it'll look like this, T28 workouts to this number, and then when you submit that, hit enter. All you have to do is enter your email address, and when you enter that email address, then I'll immediately email you this actually free ebook that contains over 80 workouts that you can do at home with little to no equipment. And as a bonus, I'll also email you a free video series on how to go from tired to triumphant. So how to improve your sleep, how to overcome chronic stress, and so just some awesome tips on how you can overcome fatigue. That's one of the biggest issues that people are dealing with today, is how you can overcome actual fatigue. So when you register for that, you'll get both of those just as a thank you for being on this webinar. So here's another thing. Why can't I lose fat? So this goes into the realm of high intensity functional training. So a lot of times people do what's known as steady state exercise. So they do maybe 60 minutes of this steady state exercise, like walking or jogging, and they're able to hold a conversation while they're doing this form of exercise. But that is actually not ideal when you're actually trying to lose fat. So intensity is what drives fat metabolism. So in this study they actually did about 10 years ago, what they found was that in these two groups of people, they had one of them actually exercise at 80 to 90% of their maximal heart rate. The other group actually exercised at 60 to 70 of their maximal heart rate, and the two groups actually performed the same level of work. So for example, this would be one group of people who actually did a mile, but they did it at a high intensity, and the other group of people did it at a lower intensity. So one may have tried to sprint the mile, the other one just walked the mile. So what they found is those two groups of people did the exact same amount of work. They both worked a mile, they walked a mile, but what they found was the ones that did it at a higher intensity lost a significant amount of body fat compared to the people who did it at a very lower intensity. So if you're talking about actual fat burning and muscle building, intensity is always king. Now, if you're talking about fat loss also as well, what about post-workout nutrition? So if fat loss is your goal, what you want to do after you do a high intensity, short duration functional training session is that you want to avoid carbs and sugar for at least 2 hours after you exercise, even fruit, because fruit contains fructose, which is basically fruit sugar. So what they found is that when you consume a snack, a drink, or a meal that's high in sugar right after a high intensity workout, it's going to negate the positive effects of what's known as human growth hormone and the positive effects of having increased insulin sensitivities, which means that you immediately shut off the fat burning response. So one of the things that I recommend right afterwards in order to stimulate muscle building and fat burning is something that's known as a T28 smoothie. So we actually utilize grass-fed whey protein, do about 20 grams of that. We put in unsweetened coconut milk, full-fat coconut milk. We add in evaporated greens in order to provide some additional nutrients. And then we also add in what are known as coconut oil or medium chain triglyceride oil, MCT oil, a whole tablespoon of that, so that you're getting tons of healthy fats and 20 to 30 grams of healthy protein in order to help the body to build muscle after your exercise without blunting this fat burning effect by taking in tons of carbohydrates. These are some of the performance supplements that I take every single day and that I recommend to every single person, especially if you're incorporating high intensity functional training or any kind of CrossFit program. So number one, grass-fed whey protein. You got to make sure that it's grass-fed and that it doesn't have any kind of additives in it. No added fructose, no artificial sweeteners. And in fact, the one that I recommend is actually sweetened with stevia. Max Greens also helps you to get a lot of these phytonutrients that are really, really important in helping to build healthy cells, especially when you're having the stimulus of exercise. Pro omega-3s, these are omega-3 fatty acids, EPA, DHA. These actually help great with inflammation. So when you're doing high intensity exercise, you can become inflamed from this. And omega-3 fatty acids, taking 2 grams a day for women, 3 grams a day for men, helps negate some of the pain that you can get from doing high intensity exercise. And omega-3 fatty acids are very anti-inflammatory, so they'll help with pain, inflammation. They'll also help to improve flexibility of the joints too. Now, vitamin D3 is critical. Vitamin D3 plays an essential role in not only with fat burning, but it also plays an essential role in the function of muscles. Now, vitamin D has so many more benefits than this. Vitamin D actually influences the genetic functions. There were like 1,500 different genetic functions inside of the cell. So vitamin D is just actually a staple that I take every single day. And the last one is actually pro-magnesium. Magnesium is critical for muscle function. It also helps with flexibility. It helps to relax tendons and helps to relax fascia. Things like IT band syndrome, plantar fasciitis, these things help tremendously with. Now remember, if you're sweating every single day and you're not replacing the minerals, I find that a lot of people become magnesium deficient because they're sweating through their high intensity functional training. So you want to be able to make sure that you are replacing that magnesium for proper muscle function every single day. Now remember, back at the beginning of the talk, I talked about when exercise can be really bad for you. And exercise can really be to your detriment if you have one thing that's actually happening inside of your body, and that is actually when you are not in alignment. So, you ask people, hey, what is health? Most people are going to say, well, it's feeling good, not having any disease, or maybe if I can run, or I'm really fit. If you look at the true definition of health, health is not just not having any conditions. Health is when the body is functioning and healing at 100%. Where you can run into really big problems with exercise is actually when the body's frame, starting from the feet to the knees to the hips to the actual spine, all the way up to the head, when it's not in alignment. What I mean by that is, most people know this, is that the knees should not be caved in. The knees should not be rotated. The feet can't be flat. The hips can't be unlevel. The shoulders can't be unlevel. And from the side, you actually need 3 of these curves. Now, what this actually affords the body is that the body doesn't break down with movement. So I want you to think of it like your car. If you hit a pothole, the wheel goes out of alignment, you're not going to keep driving it, or you're certainly not going to enter it into the Indy 500. Because you know that if you have a car or a wheel out of alignment, the only thing that driving it at 100 miles an hour is going to do is it's only going to accelerate the damage to the car. And when your body is not in alignment, the only thing that you're doing is you're speeding up the process of degeneration and wear and tear on your body. But when it becomes really bad for you is that when you're doing this form of exercise, not only are you causing wear and tear on the joints of the body, but when you begin to break down the spine, you then begin breaking down the neurological system inside of your body. And this neurological system is what controls your digestive system. It controls the reproductive organs. It controls the liver. It controls how you digest your food through your stomach. It controls the lungs. It controls the heart. It controls literally everything inside of your body. So if you're doing exercise and things are not lined up, things are not in alignment, then you're just causing this to break down even quicker. So what I actually have to recommend for a lot of people is, let's spend some time getting your body into shape, getting your body into alignment before we actually start incorporating any kind of this movement. Now listen, you may be someone who has no symptoms whatsoever. And it doesn't necessarily mean that everything is good. The only way to check is through actually by observing posture, observing range of motion, and actually looking at this on the inside with very specific x-rays, including motion x-rays. Now, once people actually advance to having a really sick nerve system, that the spine and the neurological system is actually breaking down, is that people then tend to suffer with things because the nerve system that goes into these specific areas it gets damaged and it gets interfered with. So if you have the warning signs of headaches, insomnia, problems sleeping, problems with brain fog, most people don't know that the input from the upper part of the neck provides all the proprioceptive input up to the brain. That healthy brain function is actually is needed by proper motion of the upper neck. High blood pressure, this is an issue in the upper part of the neck. Infertility, depression, fatigue, diabetes, sciatica, radiating pain going down your leg, neck pain, menstrual issues, weight loss issues. This is a hormone issue. Usually this involves the adrenal glands. How about lower back pain or dizziness? There's a lot of people who don't work out because they suffer with chronic dizziness. This is an issue in the upper part of the neck that's not moving properly, that's not providing feedback back to the brain. Acid reflux, any kind of numbness or tingling into the feet or into the hands. Allergies. This is a problem with the immune system as is asthma as well. Now, these are all warning signs that something's not working right, specifically in the spine and in the nerve system. And if you have these issues, one of the things that you got to do immediately is you got to figure out why this is happening and if exercise could actually be leading you down a path of more discomfort, more disease, and the body breaking down even more. So for those people who actually have that, here's what you need to do immediately. You can do two things. Number one, you can call 630-553-6149, and I want you to mention Freedom Through Fitness to receive a discounted consultation and evaluation performed by me. Now, this is going to be open for the first 10 people that call or email, and if you're emailing, you're going to email info@exemplifyhealth.com. Just make sure that you're mentioning Freedom Through Fitness to receive a discounted consultation and evaluation. We'd be happy to help you out so that to make sure that exercise, specifically high intensity functional training, is actually right for you. So, hey, listen, last thing that I want to go over with you is I want to go over a sample workout of what this actually would look like day to day. Now, every day for me is going to look different, but this would actually be a great workout for anybody. So, number one, what you would do is you would do 1 minute on, as intense as possible, with 1 minute of rest. So we would be doing the echo bike, which is this. So 1 minute max effort, 1 minute of rest, followed by 1 minute of doing an air squat as quickly as possible using good form with 1 minute of rest, and then 1 minute of rowing as hard as possible, 1 minute rest, and then 1 minute of slam ball, which you pick up a weighted medicine ball and then pick it up over your head from the ground and slam it down to the ground. 1 minute on, 1 minute of rest, and we have a lot of different similar workouts like this in that free ebook that hopefully you're taking advantage of to make sure that you get that email to you. And then once you're actually rested, we do one bonus round, which would be a max hollow hold in order to start increasing the strength of the core. So actually holding this position right here for as long as possible. Some people are only able to hold it for 10 seconds. Some people can hold it for 3 or 4 minutes. And that would be all you would need to do for the whole entire day in order to achieve freedom through fitness. So guys, I hope you guys found this enjoyable. I hope you guys found that you guys can, if you just apply these principles, that you'll know that after 4 weeks you can find tremendous benefit. But you're going to notice once you make it past the 4 weeks, that at 6 months you're going to continue to get better. At 1 year you'll continue to get better. And even if you're getting older, you'll notice that you can continue making gains. You can continue achieving a higher level of fitness for years to come. We'll see you guys soon. Thanks for watching. Dr. Nathan Thompson. We'll see you soon.